Hello, everyone. This is Devin Thorpe for the Crowdfund Beat, and we're fortunate to have with us today the CEO and founder of CrowdsUnite, Alex Feldman. Alex, thank you very much for joining us today.
Pleasure to be here.
It's great to have the opportunity to talk to you. You've been a player in the crowdfunding space for some time, and it's great to catch up with you. You've created a website that is the largest crowdfunding review site in the world, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we initially focused on. So right now we have over 400 top crowdfunding websites where people can find them using a filter, sorting, comparison, and we're the biggest review site in the world. So even if you Google Kickstarter review or Indigo review or pretty much any platform review, we show up on the first page or usually on the top of the listing.
That's great. Well, I'm sure that's helpful to people to help them choose a platform. But I understand, Alex, that you are expanding the activities of CrowdsUnite to provide more educational resources. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. I mean, recently we just built a whole educational section to our site. I mean, the reason why we focus on reviews initially is kind of to create a differentiation point in the industry. But that wasn't our intent from the beginning. Our intent is to become the first destination online where people can learn about crowdfunding and pick the best site and connect them to the best possible resources on the internet. So we realize also when people come and search for these platforms, they don't know should they use rewards, should they use debt, should they use equity, and that's what's really important to educate them. So we do our own education events online as well and in presence. I run actually a meetup in the city called NYC Crowdfunding, which has over 700 people, and I teach a class called Introduction to Crowdfunding to educate businesses on crowdfunding and all these different types of platforms.
That's fantastic. So, Alex, what's the next step for CrowdsUnite?
I mean, the big vision that I have is basically kind of customize the experience for each individual or business and connect them to the best possible platform based on their circumstances and to the experts to make sure that their campaign is successful.
Great. Well, let's take a minute to really tap some of your deep expertise and the unique insights that you can bring. You've been gathering these reviews for a long time. Tell us a little bit about what the reviews are telling you about some of the big sites like Kickstarter and Indiegogo and Rocket Hub. What are you seeing in terms of feedback from users?
All right. Well, so right now users can judge the platforms based on three criteria that we set up. One is customer support, two is funding from strangers, and three is ease of use. So based on those three circumstances, depends, for businesses, which one of those is more important, because some platforms can be better on customer support, especially if it's a small niche site, or if it's a large platform like Kickstarter, it could be better getting funding from strangers. So it all depends how much the fees they charge and what benefit you get from the platform. And I think that's something that each individual needs to decide on their own.
I see. So what are people saying about Kickstarter?
Well, Kickstarter, I mean, the biggest thing people speaking about Kickstarter is that it has a great community. So it looks like people actually come back and search for projects and fund projects over and over again. So it's a really great platform to get funding from strangers that you don't have a connection with. So, and that's the whole kind of point of crowdfunding is, first time you get connection from your initial network, from your friends, family, and hopefully through that and through a Kickstarter platform, you bring other connections outside that network that you have, and that's why you're paying Kickstarter a 5% fee for that extra funding from these kind of outside your network individuals.
I see. So you also talked about expanding your expert resources on CrowdsUnite. Tell us a little bit about the tools you're building there.
Right. So I think it's really important to connect them to experts in the industry as well. For example, marketing experts, which can help to promote the campaign and get media attention for the project, as well as video experts to actually build an amazing video on the campaign, because the projects with video usually raise twice as much as projects without video. So we start building the listing. We have a number of listings already available, but we want to expand it, and we want to actually kind of become adding reviews as well. So kind of validate that these experts are really really beneficial to individuals and reducing fraud in the industry, which I think that's a big topic right now. Is there's a lot of these self-proclaimed experts, a lot of these platforms popping up. So hopefully, by having reviews, we can reduce the fraud in the industry, and everybody will benefit.
Sure, sure. Well, Alex, tell us a little bit about why you launched CrowdsUnite. What fired your interest or passion for the crowdfunding industry?
Well, about 2 years ago, I was actually finishing up my MBA from NYU University, and I was working at investment bank. And the Jobs Act came out around that same time, and I was really interested in crowdfunding before, and when the Jobs Act came out, I saw a lot of opportunity, and I really believe in the crowdfunding industry, and not just the crowdfunding, just moving online from the traditional banking industry. I saw there's a lot of opportunity in it, and this opportunity also creates a lot of problems, and the problems is there's over 1,000 different platforms, there's a lot of confusion in the industry, and people don't know where to go, or how do they successfully raise money. So that's the reason why I decided to build CrowdsUnite as a resource for basically for all the crowdfunding information and helping people with raising money on the internet.
Fantastic. The crowdfunding industry seems to be growing very quickly. Are you seeing that traffic on your website is growing with the industry?
I mean, we've been growing month to month. I mean, we were in Entrepreneur magazine a couple months back, and that really gave us a lot more attention, and we had a big spike because of that. And now we're just growing steadily. I think last month, since we're launching this new initiative to education, we're going to be kind of pivoting the users that we attract, because traditionally the users that we were attracting is the ones who knew about crowdfunding, who were searching, for example, Kickstarter versus Indiegogo, or we're searching by reviews, so they're a little more savvy. Right now, we kind of want to target the individuals who don't know about crowdfunding, who just looking to, who can't get a loan through traditional means, like going to a bank, and want to go online and want to see if they can get money other ways. So we want to attract those users to our site now.
So are you focused exclusively on the donations and rewards space, or are you also beginning to look at investment crowdfunding, equity crowdfunding, and those kinds of things?
Right now, most of our users are actually on our donation and reward site, but we do include debt and equity platforms as well, and we have a couple partnerships with some of these sites already. From what I'm trying to, when I teach my class, the introductory class to crowdfunding, I try not to split so much between all these different types of funding. The way I see it is, if a business needs to raise $50,000, it'll bring the money from the internet, but it depends what it can give back. If it can give back a product, a service, then it should focus on reward-based crowdfunding, especially if it has a big crowd. If it has cash flows and you can pay back with interest, then lending is an option. If it's a fast-growing startup or with an exit opportunity down the road, then you should look at the equity crowdfunding. So it depends on the individual company or the business and what can give back in return for the funding. And based on that and its circumstances, we should focus on that different types.
Fantastic. Well, Alex, it's been a real pleasure to visit with you. Why don't you tell people how they can find your site and what they can expect to find when they get there? Sure.
The site is called CrowdsUnite.com. If people want to reach me personally, my email is alex.feldman@CrowdsUnite.com. And you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. If you're in New York, stop by my meetup, which is called NYC Crowdfunding.
Fantastic. Well, Alex, thank you very, very much for taking the time to be with us today.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All righty. Let's do some good.